Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be checking out some very fun battles in the Open Ultra League featuring HISUIAN ARCANINE. These battles were submitted to the channel by a fellow content creator, Felrose, so many thanks for the battle submission. HISUIAN ARCANINE is a fire and rock type Pokemon, meaning that it's an extremely hard counter to both Talonflame and Charizard, and as you may know, both of those are extremely common in the Ultra League, so HISUIAN ARCANINE can absolutely feast. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out HISUIAN ARCANINE in action in the Ultra League. Hopping to the first match, picking up a great lead Cresselia into Swampert. Opponent is going to save switch into Talonflame, and now it's time for HISUIAN ARCANINE to shine. HISUIAN ARCANINE is rocking Rock Slide as the moveset, and Rock Slide is going to hit for double super effective damage here. Opponent went for the Flame Charge. As you saw, that did absolutely no damage. ARCANINE gets a shield. Talonflame continues to farm. Even if they Brave Bird here, it's not going to KO. They go for another Flame Charge. HISUIAN ARCANINE just does not care, farms up to 100 energy and is applying the pressure. Rock Slide one-shots the Talonflame. Back in comes Swampert. These mud shots are tearing through HISUIAN ARCANINE. Gonna fire off the Wild Charge to hopefully let the Swampert get less farm. Swampert is going to be able to get the farm down. In comes Cresselia in the back. They have Umbreon, and this game is over. Cresselia is going to fire off the Moonblast. This will hit for some nice super effective damage. Opponent commits the last shield, but they get the attack drop from Moonblast, and if this game wasn't over, it definitely is now, as Charizard will easily be able to clean up here. Umbreon is going to spam out Foul Play after Foul Play, but that's perfectly fine. Charizard is going to start spamming out these Blast Burns, and Blast Burns are going to do a lot of damage onto this Umbreon. Blast Burn connects. Looks like Charizard just needs one more Blast Burn. Charizard honestly didn't have to shield here, but going to commit the shield. Opponent is going to take advantage of the desync timers and send in Swampert. Dragon Claw is going to land onto the Swampert. It's a CMP tie, and at this point you can just let the Charizard go because you have Cresselia, and Cresselia up a shield can comfortably finish off this game. Opponent firing off a Hydro Cannon, but there's just nothing they can do. Cresselia just too tanky, and that is a good game. Moving into the next match, leading Cresselia into Regirock. This is a pretty decent matchup for Cresselia, again due to the fact that this Cresselia is running the legacy move of Grass Knot. Cresselia farming up. Regirock is very spammy, and they're going to strike first, firing off the Stone Edge. Stone Edge is going to connect. Stone Edge, typically a pretty powerful move, but Cresselia is incredibly tanky. Grass Knot onto the Regirock is able to land. Cresselia continues to farm, and we're going to see Stone Edge number 2 from the Regirock. Regirock able to get Cresselia close to the red. Cresselia continuing to farm, going for a second Grass Knot. This will come very close to KOing here. Grass Knot gets them deep into the red. Cresselia not quite able to farm down as Regirock reaches Stone Edge number 3. Cresselia is going to commit the shield. Opponent is going to send in Cobalion. Cobalion met with a Moonblast. Moonblast gets shielded. In comes Charizard. But this is a very dangerous game as Cobalion does have access to Stone Edge. Charizard commits the shield. It's a Sacred Sword bait, and that is not great. Going for the Dragon Claw here, needing to grab a shield from the Cobalion. This would be massive. Dragon Claw gets the shield, wins CMP over Cobalion. That was a massive bait. Blast Burn KOs Cobalion, and Charizard stays alive. Opponent is going to send in the Regirock. That gets farmed down in the back. They have Virizion, and this video may be featuring HISUIAN ARCANINE, but it's a good reminder Charizard is great too. Bit of a tough lead in the next match, Cresselia into Mandibuzz. Both Pokemon able to hit each other for super effective damage in this matchup, so we are going to see a save switch into Charizard, and Charizard baits out the Swampert. That is quite good, because Swampert would absolutely destroy HISUIAN ARCANINE in the back. Blast Burn does get a shield, and honestly, grabbing a shield is huge in this matchup. Honestly, that's all Charizard can hope for. You basically just let this go for another Blast Burn, and you baited out the Water type and gotten a shield advantage for Arcanine in the back. So honestly, things are looking pretty good, all things considered. Charizard is able to reach a last-second Dragon Claw. This will not KO, but it will get that Swampert extremely low. Swampert hanging on with a sliver of HP, only going to be able to reach the last-second Earthquake here versus the Cresselia. In comes Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz is going to start firing off these foul plays. One foul play, not going to do a lot of damage, but they're actually running Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse does hit slightly harder. Cresselia is going to stay in this matchup, going for the super effective Moonblast. Moonblast lands. In comes HISUIAN ARCANINE in the back. They have Tentacruel, and this is where having Wild Charge can be very helpful with HISUIAN ARCANINE. HISUIAN ARCANINE commits the shield, definitely does not want to take that scald damage, and now HISUIAN ARCANINE is going to unleash the Wild Charge. Wild Charge lands, dealing massive super effective damage. HISUIAN ARCANINE going for Wild Charge number 2 onto the Tentacruel. Tentacruel commits the shield. HISUIAN ARCANINE just too spammy, reaches Wild Charge number 3. Down goes Tentacruel. Bring back in that Mandibuzz. HISUIAN ARCANINE commits the shield. Their defense is extremely low at this moment. Farming up, gets to the Wild Charge. This will be hitting for massive super effective damage onto the Mandibuzz, getting them low, and the perfect catch onto Cresselia. Beautifully executed gameplay there. In comes Arcanine. Arcanine reaches the Rock Slide, getting to so many charge moves. Down goes the Mandibuzz, and that is a good game. Picking up a great lead in the next match, Cresselia into another Swampert. You love to see it. Opponent is actually staying in this matchup. Cresselia continues to farm. Opponent is gonna save switch into the Charizard, and now it's HISUIAN ARCANINE time. They are able to hit for neutral with Dragon Claw, but Dragon Claw not a particularly powerful move. As you see, HISUIAN ARCANINE able to shrug off that damage, can honestly tank a second one as well, and reach back-to-back Rock Slides here. Going to be able to apply so much pressure onto the Charizard. Rock Slide number 1 onto the Zard, does get shielded, and the opponent is going to have to double shield here if they want to keep this Charizard alive. Firing off the Rock Slide, that gets the second shield as well. Opponent really trying to preserve the Charizard, but HISUIAN ARCANINE not going to let that happen. Continuing to farm, opponent sends back in the Swampert, and at the last second, HISUIAN ARCANINE fires off a Wild Charge. Wild Charge lands, in comes Cresselia, and Cresselia is able to deny Swampert's energy with the Grass Knot. Down goes Swampert. Unfortunately, back in comes the Charizard, and this is a bit of a tough matchup to be in since Cresselia is not running Future Sight. Cresselia is forced to go for the resisted Moonblast. One Moonblast, not going to be enough to KO, but it looks like a second one may be able to. Blast Burn is going to land onto Cresselia. Cresselia, not over farming, going to immediately fire off the Moonblast. Moonblast is enough to KO. In the back, they have Scrafty, and Scrafty's about to have a very bad day. Cresselia is at the Moonblast, may as well shield because you can hit for double super effective damage here. Cresselia commits the shield, going for the Moonblast, massive damage, and you can comfortably send in the Charizard, farm down, and secure the victory. Very tough lead in the next match, Cresselia into Galvantula. Galvantula is a pretty big core breaker for this team because it can hit both Cresselia and Charizard for super effective damage. Galv is going to strike first, going for the lunge. Lunge does quite a bit of damage onto Cresselia. Cresselia is going to return fire with the Moonblast. Moonblast will hit for some solid neutral damage. Cress continues to farm, switch, and catches the lunge onto HISUIAN ARCANINE. Very nicely done. Lunge not going to do a lot of damage and able to bait out a Jellicent. Jellicent is running Bubble Beam, and this is going to hurt. This is a double super effective Bubble Beam, and that does so much damage. I don't think I've ever seen Bubble Beam do that much damage. Bad news for the Jellicent, however. HISUIAN ARCANINE may be debuffed, but it has back-to-back Wild Charges loaded. First one, able to land. Second one gets the shield, and Jellicent is able to farm down. In comes Cresselia. Unfortunately, Cresselia lags for a turn. Cresselia should have outpaced by a turn there, but unfortunately, due to lag, it ends up being a CMP tie. That is really unfortunate. Grass Knot not quite going to KO, and at this point, I think you just let this through. Jellicent is going to fire off the Shadow Ball. That's going to KO. In comes the Charizard, looking for the farm down, and Jellicent does not make the Bubble Beam. That is massive. In comes Galvantula. Galvantula is very behind on energy here. This Dragon Claw is going to KO if they let it through. They commit the shield, and now they're going to lose their Galvantula as this Dragon Claw is going to be lethal. In the back, they have Umbreon. Umbreon is down a shield, but Umbreon does have a health advantage. We'll have to see, can Charizard clutch here? Charizard going for the Blast Burn. That does so much damage to an XL Umbreon, as Charizard is incredibly powerful. Charizard commits the shield on the foul play. Charizard is going to be met with another charge move here from the Umbreon. Umbreon goes for the foul play. That does not KO. Charizard continuing to farm and going for the Blast Burn. This is going to be very close. Is it enough to KO? Yes, it is. And that is a good game. Moving into the next match, picking up a neutral lead, Cresselia into Abomasnow. Two better responses in the back. We see an immediate save switch into Charizard, and Charizard is able to bait out Swampert. So far, the team working as intended. Charizard able to lure out the water type, so that way it clears Hisui and Arcanine to try and sweep in the endgame. Blast Burn, even when resisted, does a ton of damage, and a Hydro Cannon is non-lethal here. Opponent overfarms and lets Charizard make another Blast Burn. This will be forcing a shield from the opponent. Swampert continues to farm. They're going for the farm down, and that's going to cost them. You do not want to mud shot down a flying type. Charizard, Dragon Claw, KOs, and Wind Switch. In the back, they have Shadow Charizard, and they are going to hate seeing this Hisuian Arcanine. Hisuian Arcanine is going to be able to absolutely tear through the remainder of this opponent's team. Charizard goes for the Dragon Claw. Arcanine continues to farm. Opponent makes a catch onto Abomasnow, but that is not going to save them, as Rock Slide still hits for massive damage. Arcanine farms up, and we see a beautiful catch. Now you can just use Cresselia as a damage sponge, soaking all of the energy from Abomasnow, and to save shields for the sweeper and back, which is going to be the Hisuian Arcanine. They go for Weather Ball. That just does absolutely no damage. Cresselia going to look to overfarm and then go for the resisted Grass Knot. Grass Knot is going to be enough to KO from here, and opponent still trying to play it out, but there's just no hope remaining for this Shadow Charizard. Charizard is going to fire off the Blast Burn. That KOs the Cresselia. At that point, they realize it's over, and they concede the match. Picking up a pretty decent lead in the next match, Cresselia into Walrein. Walrein is able to outpace in this matchup, but they can only hit for neutral, whereas Cresselia can hit for super effective damage with Grass Knot. Cress is going to strike first, going for the Grass Knot onto Walrein. Walrein is going to let that through, and then immediately return fire. Walrein is going to fire off the Icicle Spear. That does not do a lot of damage, but Walrein continues to farm. Grass Knot number 2 being fired off by Cresselia here. Decision time for the Walrein. They're going to let that through, as that is not going to be enough to KO. Walrein has a lot of energy, and they're going to start making it count, firing off Icicle Spear after Icicle Spear onto Cresselia. We are going to see an immediate no shield from Cresselia. They know they can tank it. We're going to see a save switch into Charizard, and gets the wing attack farm down. Opponent has Tapu Fini in the back, and it is incredibly good to bait this out, because Tapu Fini would absolutely tear Hisuian Arcanine to shreds. Tapu Fini is going to fire off a Surf, and we are going to see a shield used by the Charizard here. Charizard continuing to farm up. Charizard building up and baiting with a Dragon Claw. Oh my goodness. Really needing a shield here, and gets it. That's massive. Charizard not quite able to make the Blast Burn. Tapu Fini is going to go for the Surf. Surf is going to KO. In comes Cresselia in the back. They have Talonflame, and Talonflame's worst nightmare has arrived. It doesn't matter what charge move they throw here. They go for the Flame Charge. We've seen that just does absolutely no damage. Rock Slide being fired off onto the Talonflame. Talonflame gets one shot, and Tapu Fini, these water guns are shredding through the Arcanine, but Arcanine will have the last laugh. Going for the Wild Charge, that gets the shield. Wild Charge number 2 is going to get the KO. Hisuian Arcanine takes down a water type, and that is a good game. Terrible lead in the final match, Cresselia into Trevenant. We're going to see an immediate save switch into Charizard. Opponent is going to respond with a Guzzlord, but Guzzlord is not going to appreciate these Dragon Claws. Dragon Claw is going to land. Guzzlord continues to farm. Guzzlord going to fire off a charge move here. Charizard is going to commit the shield, and it ends up being a crunch. Charizard is able to farm up to the back-to-back Dragon Claws, and now begins to apply some real pressure onto the Guzzlord. Guzzlord commits the shield, but they get outpaced by Charizard. Wing Attack is insanely spammy, able to force 2 shields, and the opponent ends up losing CMP. They overfarmed, and that's gonna cost them. Guzzlord gets taken out. In comes the Trevenant. Trevenant gets the farm down, but now in comes Hisuian Arcanine. Arcanine is going to commit the shield, and that proves to be a good shield, as it is a Shadow Ball in the back. The opponent has Tapu Fini. These water guns are shredding through the Arcanine, but Arcanine has the last laugh here. Wild Charge, massive damage, and now you can send in Cresselia. It is absolutely beautiful watching Arcanine shred these Tapu Finis with Wild Charge. Tapu Fini is able to connect with a charge move, continuing to farm up with Cresselia. Cresselia is going to fire off the Grass Knot. Grass Knot is going to KO. Opponent going to send in Trevenant. Trevenant met with the Moonblast. Moonblast is non-lethal here, but it will get the Trevenant quite low. Trevenant will have to throw a charge move here. They try and go for the farm down, but at the last second, they deny it, and they're going to fire off the Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb is going to KO. Oh no, they reach a move versus the Arcanine. Can Arcanine hang on here? It cannot, and it's a heartbreaking defeat. All in all, these were some incredibly fun battles. HISUIAN Arcanine has a very unique typing. It can definitely be a liability at times, especially going up against water types, but that typing just happens to be perfect to make both Charizard and Talonflame absolutely miserable. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.